What's going on, guys? You're watching the Shieldbearer Faith, and thank you for being here. So I was reading earlier an article that a buddy of mine sent me, and man, we got to talk about it. So it was in reference to the gun control legislation that's going to be attempted in the new year, and this one was specifically quoting various representatives or whatever, and I don't remember who they were, and it doesn't matter. But people in Richmond or in DC were talking about these laws, meaning if they pass these gun control bills, that they will be enforced, is what they're saying. And that if law enforcement refuse to carry out the requirements of that, then they will be terminated from their job, they'll be fired, and they'll be held to legal action, right? And then there was a couple others that were talking about, well, the National Guard could be deployed if law enforcement refuses to comply with this, refuses to enforce this. And then there was a few other things, right? This is Virginia. Let's not forget where we are. This is Virginia. Let's not forget how historically important Virginia is. This country as we know it started in Virginia. This country as we know it gained its independence in Virginia. This country as we know it reunited in Virginia. And I do not want to see this country end or fracture in Virginia. But you guys in Richmond and DC, you are not thinking clear on this. They are talking about taking firearms, millions of them, from law-abiding citizens, otherwise law-abiding, because if you don't give them up and that law is passed, you're no longer law-abiding. Is that not essentially backing otherwise law-abiding citizens into a corner? Who thinks that's a good idea? If you back a possum into a corner, it becomes dangerous. You cannot do that. That is not a good idea. And I'd love to see how anybody thinks the National Guard would help anything. Because if the highly trained, we are very well trained individuals in police, Virginia has approximately a 7-month academy, 7 months worth of academy time, followed by approximately 3 months of field training, followed by probably more than 6 months of you're not worth nothing because you're brand new. So more than a year worth of time frame for an officer to actually effectively function on his own, right? That's a long time. So let's say you start firing these guys left and right because we're not doing that. We're not taking that. Okay, start firing them. If we hold together as one on this, they can't win. Because you can't fire half of a police department and it still function. Are you going to reinforce that with other law enforcement agencies who probably are going to have this same thing happen, where they're going to have guys say, no, I'm not doing that? What do? How do you start recouping those losses of officers? You don't. Guys, we run steadily understaffed now. If they start firing officers, if we are willing to hold to our convictions, if they start firing officers and trying to have legal action against them for this, it can't win. They will not be able to replace us fast enough. Not going to work. But let's say it does. Let's say that they decide, you know what, we're going to get rid of anyone that will not comply with this, and we're going to bring in the National Guard. So you are proposing to bring in a military force without there being a natural disaster to enforce law, when they were not trained to do that, neither equipped to do that. How is that going to work out? Is not the police departments across the nation steadily in hot water in the media for overuse of force or not dealing with the public in the way that people think they should? Do you think that bringing in the National Guard, a military unit, to enforce law, do you think that that's going to work out well? Are you going to arm them to do it? Because they're not going to go door to door unarmed. So are you going to do that with armed National Guard troops on Virginia's soil And by the way, a lot of cops are in the National Guard. How's that going to play out? How are those guys going to feel the minute they have to go to a door and they start getting shot at because John Doe, he can't go any further. He can't run anywhere else. You've backed him into a corner. How is that going to go over? How is the media going to handle that? How is the first cell phone video or the 10th or the 100th cell phone video of that going to go over? How about on the cops' end? How are police going to feel the first time one of their brothers on the street gets shot because they went and knocked on a door just hoping to get, a conversation about a whole separate incident, trying to get a witness for something unrelated to gun control, but John Doe in that house thinks you're coming to take his gun, so he shoots you. This will not go well. This is Virginia. The people are speaking here. In that article, it was talking about that 75 counties in Virginia have said, no, we're not enforcing that. We are not going to go along with that law. There are only 95 counties. Vastly more than half have said no. They're not listening. And I have been advocating on here for peace and calm conversations, because all the stuff I just mentioned is extremely dangerous. I don't want to see that. None of us do. We don't want to see that. But we want to be left alone, right? I hope somehow the politicians hear us, hear this maybe, if that's what it takes, because I'm not a very fired up individual. But it doesn't make sense to me. Don't back otherwise law-abiding citizens into a position where they can't see a way out. That is not a good idea. Everybody's got lines in the sand somewhere on something. Pray for the country. All right, guys. I'll see you later.